Every time you see me, it's what up, shawty. It's this, and you know how you talk. Fuck is you talking about, mo? I'm really him. I bring any type of smoke to anything in my way. Fuck is you talking about? I am him.
Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach have just thrown down some serious promises after their latest clash. Neither of these two are backing down, and we might just be in for an epic showdown this December. It's a unique matchup because, despite both being world champions, they fight in different weight classes. So, it's not a unified title fight. However, Lamont Roach brings something to the table that most of Davis's recent opponents didn't: his size. Davis has gotten used to fighting bigger guys who, in pursuit of a title shot and a fat payday, end up weight drained before fight night and end up giving half-baked performances. Roach, though, will be moving up to 135 pounds, Davis's division, and won't be dealing with that same weight cut struggle. Come fight night, he's expected to look better than Frank Martin, Ryan Garcia, and many others who seemed like they were under some rehydration clause when they faced Tank.
You don't like to bring your family to fights that you feel like are going to be a war. Do you feel like this is a fight that you'll bring your family to?
But as good as this sounds for Roach, there's a downside to the fight too. Fans usually sit on the edge of their seats wondering who Davis will take on next, but this time, the announcement of Roach as his December opponent left many disappointed. Roach is solid, sure, but he's not exactly a high-profile name with a long list of big wins. People were hoping to see Davis fight the likes of Shakur Stevenson, Vasyl Lomachenko, or Devin Haney. Of course, making a mega fight like that happen isn't easy, but the growing feeling among fans is that Davis is taking the easy route lately, not pushing himself against top-tier opponents.
The community.
Now, do you feel like there's unfair criticism because of Lamont Roach not being as known of a fighter?
People want to do that. That's what fan does.
When someone on social media called him out for it, wondering if 2025 will finally be the year Davis fights credible names, Tank had to step up and defend himself. His resume was put into question, but a fan jumped to his defense, pointing out that his wins over Ryan Garcia, Frank Martin, Isaac Cruz, and Jose Pedraza were legit, especially considering how he dominated those fights. Davis agreed, throwing subtle shade at fighters like Rolly Romero, who fought Cruz after Davis beat him, and Devin Haney, who took on Garcia after Tank destroyed him. Davis knows he's faced some top fighters, and he's not about to let anyone tell him otherwise. In a recent post on Instagram,
Man, what did you say to yourself? You had to say something to yourself when you seen the card.
I mean, I probably thought about, the fact that
Tank Davis shared a photo of his knockout of Frank Martin. In the shot, Davis is seen celebrating his victory with Martin laid out on the canvas. The champ captioned the pic with, "December, Houston, #Theon, #Long Live Baby Frank," clearly hinting at his upcoming fight.
But from the amateurs, silver gloves, everything, they grew up actually together, Roach and him, back and forth battles and whatnot. It's going to be a pretty interesting fight, you know what I'm saying? Because
this is just the latest jab in the ongoing war of words between Davis and Roach, which started after their fight was announced in late September. On his end, Roach has been coming for Davis hard on X, formerly Twitter, with posts like, "Houston, we got an MF problem," and "You must think I'm one of them regular in ******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Davis fired back with, "I advise you not to talk so much. It can be bad for you. You know that already though, yo." Despite the back and forth, fans and analysts have questioned Davis's choice of opponent. Even though Roach is the WBA super featherweight champion, he's not known for his knockout power.
Always, he come to fight, and I think it's a great fight. Everybody talking all that stuff about, oh, why Roach? Because he signed and took the fight, you know what I'm saying? And it's good.
Something crucial when facing a beast like Tank. Plus, Roach will have to pack on 9 pounds to move up from his natural weight for this fight, which is another potential disadvantage. Responses to Tank Davis's recent Instagram post show just how disappointed some fans are. Comments like, "Can you fight somebody that's actually gonna give you some bump?" And yet another cherry pick by Tank flooded in. One fan captured the mood perfectly, saying, "Y'all better stop falling for these weakest tricks. Fighters moving up or down from their natural weight."
But Coach Kenny Ellis,
What's up?
How you doing, Coach?
I'm good, man. Taking it day by day.
Yes, sir. Boxing world got a big announcement.
But he doesn't want to move up or face real competition in his weight class. Teo, Dev, Shakur, etc. Nobody wants this fight. With the December fight already set in stone, all eyes are on Roach to see if he can shut up the doubters, or if Davis really is just cherry-picking to avoid the heavy hitters in his division. What's especially interesting about this matchup is that Gervonta Davis is stepping back into the ring with a familiar face. He's decided to run it back against Lamont Roach, a fighter he's crossed paths with twice during their amateur days.
This week, we're gonna get the face of boxing, Gervonta Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach, December 14th in Houston, Texas. How you feeling about this fight?
It seems like there's unfinished business, and Roach would love to settle the score. Both Davis and Roach are 29, and they fought twice in the amateurs, once at the Regional Junior Olympics and again at the National Championships. This adds an extra layer to the December 14th showdown in Houston, Texas. Roach has claimed before that he should have been 1-1 in their amateur clashes. Speaking in an interview with Broadway Joel, Roach said,
I feel good, man. You know, same old, same old.
Lamont and Tank have history. What can you tell us about their history?
I fought Gervonta Davis twice in the amateurs. I lost both times, but the first one was a little fishy. You can watch them both on YouTube. Roach elaborated, explaining, the first one was in Baltimore, his hometown, and the second was at the Nationals, where he beat me for gold. Roach also mentioned that after reviewing the first fight's tape, USA Boxing offered him a spot at Nationals, suggesting that the initial decision might have been questionable. Now, with all this history between them, the question is, can Roach finally get his revenge, or will Davis once again show why he's at the top? Either way, this fight has more to it than just the usual pre-fight trash talk. It's personal.
And how that's going to play into the fight and financial?
They got amateur history. They fought maybe 2 or 3 times.
But as fate would have it, both Roach and Davis made it to the finals for their second meeting, and the result remained the same. Roach reflected on it, saying, they were like, we're going to give you a grant to go to Nationals. We both made it to Nationals, we made it to the championship, and he beat me in the championship. He won gold, and I won silver that year. The Washington native wrapped up his amateur career with an impressive record of 25-15 and quickly made waves in the pro boxing world. Now, he's set to meet Davis for the third time, though the matchup has been met with increasing criticism. However, Calvin Ford, Davis's coach,
Tank being the winner, they sparred a few times. Tank got the best of the sparring. They just bigger and stronger now, you know? Older.
has been quick to defend his disciple's choice to fight Roach. Speaking with Fight Hype, Ford cited their previous meetings and battles as reasons for the matchup. The Baltimore native coach admitted that Roach stepped up to take the fight, which helped push negotiations forward. They've known each other since the amateurs, silver gloves and everything. They grew up with each other. Everybody's talking, saying why Roach?
Now, it's some word out there that Lamont say, you know, he got some film that don't make Tank look too good. What could that? How could that affect, you know, the outcome on December 14th?
Shit, man, Tank last 4 or 5 opponents all had film like about how they beat him up.
Because he took the fight, and it's good for the community. According to Ford, this fight could be intriguing because Roach has never been one to shy away from exchanges and will come ready to battle. Despite his reputation as a skilled fighter, many fans feel differently, seeing this as just another instance of Davis picking an opponent from a lower weight class to defend his title. Fans were hoping for a blockbuster matchup.
That's a real good fight. I would love to see that. That's a scrappy. That'd be a scrappy fight.
Something worthy of Tank's current form, with dream fights that could easily sell out stadiums. The selection of Lamont Roach, a boxer who doesn't even compete in the lightweight division, has left much of the boxing world, aside from Tank's diehard fans, convinced that Davis is dodging the division's top contenders. In fact, Shakur Stevenson took a subtle shot at both Davis and his fans on X, formerly Twitter, for the longest time.
You feel that's gonna happen?
Yeah, I know it's gonna happen. I mean, I'm the best, he the best. So when you got 2 guys that's the best, how can you not fight? Only way you could not fight if...
A fight between Shakur and Davis has been a dream matchup. When the circumstances seemed to finally align, Davis found reasons to sidestep the fight. This year marked the first time in a while that Davis and Stevenson had fights just a few weeks apart, making it an ideal time for them to set up a showdown later in the year. With both fighters in prime condition, it felt like the perfect moment. However, after Davis's victory over Frank Martin and Shakur's win over Artem Haroun,
one of them guys ain't like that and somebody go off to lose or somebody take an L. But I think like with both of us, we both fighters that's really
Davis
good
passed on Stevenson and instead pursued a fight with Vasyl Lomachenko, who declined and opted to take the rest of the year off. Rather than pivot back to Stevenson, Davis's team turned their attention to Rayo Valenzuela, another fighter from a different weight class who had just won a title after defeating Isaac Cruz. When Valenzuela declined, Davis settled on Lamont Roach. All the while, Shakur Stevenson waited, growing increasingly frustrated, until he set up a world championship match against Joe Cordina on the same card as Ball versus Beterbiev. However, he later picked up an injury. A fan tweeted on X, asking, "Lomachenko turned down Tank. Shakur went to Matchroom. Zap is fighting Tevin Farmer. Dennis Baranchik is MIA."
On that level.
From a boxing standpoint, what makes Tank Tank? We see the power, but it's got to be more than that.
Nah, he's strategic. He's setting guys up. He been boxing.
Who else was Tank supposed to fight in December? In response, Shakur Stevenson tweeted, "Y'all boys gotta get off y'all knees." Even though Shakur comes from a lower weight class, he's eager for this fight and willing to do anything to shock the world. But once again, Tank Davis kept his words brief, indicating he'll do his talking in the ring. He quoted Reaper's tweet and simply wrote, "Say nothing," signaling his confidence and superiority over the WBA super featherweight champion. This online war has added some hype to the December fight, which will take place at 135 pounds with Davis's WBA lightweight title on the line. Lamont Roach is a solid, technically sound, championship-level fighter, but in terms of a pay-per-view event with a star like Davis, many expected someone who has delivered explosive performances at the highest level or at least had a polarizing personality. Davis is a bona fide pay-per-view star. Whether or not you agree with all of his fights being PPV worthy, I disagreed with most of them. He's been established on PPV for a while now, but what's missing is proper opposition to justify those fees. Roach is skilled, but he hasn't hit the pinnacle. He's had success at super featherweight, but it's taken him a while, with only one title defense against Feargal McCrory. A matchup between him and Davis would make more sense if Roach had more title defenses under his belt.
Between us both already, that we competed twice before in 2 close fights in the amateurs, and that, you know what I'm saying? Like,
we've seen Davis in these types of fights before, like against Hector Luis Garcia, who was stopped by Davis and later lost a split decision to Roach. But this seems to be the pay-per-view model now. Once a fighter reaches that status, they stay there regardless of the opponent. Frank Martin, Davis's past opponent, is also a solid fighter and, unlike Roach, is already established at lightweight. He was lined up to fight Shakur Stevenson and had delivered performances that sparked curiosity at the highest level. There's no doubt Davis is at the top level, which makes his careful opponent selection all the more frustrating. It's also relevant that Roach, while highly regarded by insiders, isn't even the biggest super featherweight, where he still looks capable of defending his WBA title. Meanwhile, Davis is a powerful lightweight.
His last fight with Frank Martin, you can see Frank Martin was more so an amateur. Like, the experience he got is not on the level of like Tank.
If Davis is the biggest star in the division and Stevenson his biggest rival, this fight feels similar to when Stevenson was matched with Joe Cordina. A solid fight, but not the high-level showdown fans crave. This fight feels like something we'd accept if Davis versus Stevenson was already made, and then Stevenson had to pull out with an injury, needing a late replacement. If we were confident that Davis-Stevenson would come next, it would make much more sense. But it doesn't even seem close to happening. Davis has to be considered a heavy favorite here, and while Roach is talented, if he pulled off a win, it would be the upset of the year. And a fight with that much disparity shouldn't be on pay-per-view. One lightweight fight I'm far more excited about is William Zepeda versus Tevin Farmer. Farmer brings a very different style as Zepeda continues moving up in competition. Farmer, a former world champion and a crafty southpaw, makes this fight intriguing. By taking on Farmer, Zepeda strengthens his chances of facing either Davis or Stevenson in the future. Southpaws are incredibly dominant in the lightweight division, making Farmer a fitting challenge to test where Zepeda stands. Farmer may be past his prime, but Zepeda isn't defending a world title yet. This fight, on the undercard of Chris Bam Bam Smith versus Gilberto Ramirez, should provide moments where Farmer tests Zepeda, even if I expect Zepeda to learn and ultimately win. As a side note, when Stevenson versus Cordina was first announced, we were told we could expect Stevenson versus Zepeda, followed by Stevenson versus Davis in 2025. However, Stevenson being with Matchroom and DAZN, while Zepeda is under Golden Boy Promotions, means the Stevenson-Zepeda fight could happen, but I see little reason to believe Stevenson-Davis will follow. Matchroom has no control over Davis's movements, and I'll go on record saying I don't believe Stevenson versus Davis will happen in 2025. While I expect Stevenson versus Zepeda to take place, it'll likely be late in the year, despite earlier rumors. The outcry around Davis versus Roach isn't just because Roach is lesser known, but because many believe Roach isn't up to the task.
I see a nice competitive fight.
Nice competitive fight?
Yeah. He's not going to fight like Martin, you know. He got a more come forward style.
While this fight is a tough one for Roach, who is 29, it's also a huge opportunity for him to elevate his career by facing one of boxing's biggest names. Roach is skilled, crafty, and has a strong chin. If he can take advantage of Davis's tendency to start slow, there's a slim chance he could make the fight competitive, or even secure an early victory. While Davis remains a major draw in boxing, the fight has left some fans underwhelmed, as they hoped for a more marquee matchup against top contenders in his division. Within a week of the fight's announcement, Roach had taken shots on X, formerly Twitter, and even gave a live interview where he had a lot to say about Tank. Although critics have pointed out the weight difference between the two, Roach doesn't believe it will impact the outcome. The bout, which is for Davis's WBA lightweight title, is set for pay-per-view. What are your thoughts and predictions on the Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach fight?